Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. And I want to let y'all know right off the bat right now that what I wanted to tell you all about, um, for the most part, is um, what I wanted y'all to know about is this debate about whether, it's going to be a solution to legalize sex work. I'm not talking about the number. I'm going to tell you that, one, you already know I'm not allowed to say that something like that is a solution, especially a long-term solution. But I also wanted to tell you all that in addition to what some of y'all might think is just magic on my part and irrational religion and irrational faith on my part, I can tell you some practical reasons that it's not going to be a solution. Number one, can you sell the banana? Well, even the ones that would like to buy some won't do it. They may want to buy some banana, but they're not about to spend the money to find out if yours is the one they really want or not. They wouldn't do it. And a lot of that has to do with them being conceited anyway. I mean, sure, if they've heard rumors about you and they can keep it on the low, they will pay then. But for the most part, they're not going to hear rumors about how good some dude is. And they don't think that he's going to fuck the shuck up and not tell anybody that they're buying his banana. So for the most part, it's going to be they're going to sell box and they're going to look to you to pay too much. And we already know that the wicked witches of the West are useless. This is known. We don't have to think about that. So with that being said, if you legalized sex work, all you're going to have is the most useless of our daughters, cousins, sisters, aunties, some of our moms even, out there working that strip. And every time times get hard, that's what they're going to turn to. And times are going to be hard most of the time for a long time right now, the way things are. It's not going to stop. That's what's going to happen. So I'm going to tell you all that you all might want to pass up on promoting something like that. Now, some people say, well, in Brazil and in Japan, it's easy to go in there and just buy some, and the wives know that it's best to just fuck the shuck up and not always nag and bother the husbands. Well, that's Japan and Brazil. And even then, that does have its consequences. If it is not the reason that families are breaking up, then what that means is that the men are holding it over the women's heads and not actually partaking. Because if you were actually going that route, especially when you are married and you were going that route because your wife ain't acting, she ain't playing a part, well, she's still not going to, because at the very least, she can sit up and say, well, he might go to them, but he's not going to leave me for them because I'm not that low. I'm not selling it. So, matter of fact, I'm not even giving it to him. There will still be husbands, responsible men that would have to buy it to get it while they are married, and their wives that would be able to get some side banana for free. And they would still be going after the same or sharing the same few bananas on the side while you're paying. What you may want to do, and this is a better solution, is you push for two laws. Number one, no alimony, none. Absolutely. None anymore. None. No alimony. Secondly, push for another one. The legalization of polygyny and not polyandry. And you push for these types of laws. We're not the majority of voters in these democracies. So we have to understand that we're not going to be able to vote that in. So what we do is we simply say, well, then you boycott marriage. And that's what a lot of men are doing. They're boycotting it anyway. And you pull out of the society as best you can, which a lot of you are doing. You are walking off. You are depriving the system of your heat, your energy, your resources. That's how you do it. Many of you were saying, well, since I got to be by myself anyway to be safe, I work on developing myself. And then when I'm finally developed, I will take that development to a place where it's appreciated. That is one of the ways you do it. You can push for certain laws to be changed, and you might at least get these conversations going. After a while, there will be ladies that will push for it. Now, I'm going to let you know in the West where you are, because they're useless. A lot of these ladies aren't going to push for the same laws for which you will be pushing until they are too old. Because as you know, Western broads can't learn something until they hit a wall. Nothing else is going to teach them to cooperate. Even when they're young and they see the older women hit the wall, they don't learn from it. And I know because, and this is one of the things, gentlemen, I know because I've seen how you have collectively, brothers, decided that the wall is going to be where it ends. Now, there's always been such a thing as the wall. We just gave it that name. But you brothers recently decided, you know what, it does exist and we're going to hold you to it. So they didn't get to hit the wall and still have the backup plans anymore after you guys started really thinking about this in about 2019 and then 2020. 2021 especially. The idea was there before, the name was there before, but when Kevin mainstreamed it, then a lot of you said, yeah, you know what, screw that. The wall is too late. You all did right. You said the wall is that the wall's too late. The wall's where it's at. That's it for you. Don't wait till you hit that to learn something. That's too late. Well, you doing that is another thing that has changed certain things. That is part of the solution. When you withdraw your cash and everything else, that helps. If you legalized sex work, if not you, but let's say that the voters, and we're not the majority, legalized sex work, they're going to legalize it for the vendor, not for the buyers, because some jurisdictions have already done that. And if they don't criminalize you for that in a particular jurisdiction, then socially they still do the same thing. Your name's in the paper, your face is there. Look, we go about this a different way. Let's say they legalized sex work. You show up at the strip and you offer money to them to do every domestic thing except that. Notice I said domestic things. Washing the dishes, cooking, things like that. Now what? Now they got to learn them skills. They're going to sit up and say, well, girl, I came here thinking I was just going to, bend over, get him some and collect my dough. Nope, no, make them, because that's not even work to them. And after they've done it enough times and they didn't get their nut off, eventually one of the Johns or the Tricks goes in there and, because she's backed up and she didn't get it, she gets it on one of them. So they still get that. And they get paid. No, screw that. And they have a low opinion of men anyway. Women that do that type of work are the ones that have the worst opinions of men. We know that. Strippers and women who sell box, between which there is much overlap. They got the lowest opinion of you. You sit up there and start pushing for the legalization of them being lazy and still getting paid. How are they going to respect you? Even half as much as they did before. If they think you push for that, they're going to say, yeah, see, look at that. No, they'll push for that. And if they win, you offer them dough to do every type of domestic duty but that. And if they don't manage to get that law, you don't push for it. Because see, if we do start to push for that, if they get it legalized without our help, all of our worst daughters and cousins and sisters and even moms would just go that route. Some of them wouldn't even be lazy people. They would just look and say, well, I want this and I want that. And so I'm going to go take that easy way out when what I want is not that easy anymore. So in other words, Some of them will have ambitions to become something professional and they're studying, but then I say, you know what, this class is really hard and I don't want to study. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give the professor some. Or, you know what, this is going to be expensive and I don't want to work and save for it. So I'm going to sell something so I can get this thing I want sooner. They'll always have that to fall back on. Meanwhile, you got to work for what you want. We already have that situation. That ain't going to do nothing but make it worse. And they will turn around and deprive their husbands and still have side bananas. And they'll be sharing the same few side bananas that will still get it for free, just like what's already going on. You being a responsible husband, but being deprived, you turn around, you go buy some, you still get criminalized. And if not formally criminalized, guess what? She's still going to hold that against you in the court so that you don't get custody and probably have to pay alimony, something that they're going to do that because you managed to get some and they're going to punish you for that. Some of you might say, well, you know, I'm just going to stay single and the only thing they can do for me is that. And I'm really paying them to go away and not bother me afterwards. Well, that may be what you're trying to pay them to do. But remember, they have a low opinion of you already as a man. And so what they're going to do is they're going to say, well, I'm not going to take this money and just not bother him. I'm going to find some other way. So we're going to rob him later on or something. I mean, it's not going to be just this money and I don't bother this man. So maybe what I'll do is I'll send my boys to go and rob him and he don't know nothing about it. He don't know it was me that sent them. That's how. That's what you're looking at because it's war. It's not a competition. It's not a conflict. It's a war. And I've mentioned before of how it's not just their selfishness that is the motivation, but it is also the hatred for you. So what they get out of it is not all they're thinking about. There's also the question of what you don't get and what you hate to experience that you have to experience. They revel in that. And you can tell they do because they hate each other, but they're willing to cooperate just to make sure that you don't have a good experience. Nothing else. The hell else is that, man? So while you sit up here thinking that they're just looking out for their own interests, you fail to realize how much oftentimes they're against yours. You fail to realize that. You don't look at why they will cooperate with each other to shut you out of the basics, but they can't stand each other. So don't think that pushing for the legalization of sex work is going to be a solution. If it was, that discussion would not have been introduced by any of them. The solution is you shut them out. Like LOM said, GT and give them nothing. It is unnatural, it's not healthy, but that's not your fault. A toy is a sick and twisted idea for many of you. A doll is a sick and twisted idea for many of you. But this pushing for the legalization of sex work in the West with its current climate is even more dangerous. It's even worse. You get yourself skilled and ready to leave, and you take your best elsewhere. And when you push for polygyny to be legalized and polyandry to be illegal and criminal. You push for that. And believe you me, enough of you start pushing for that and making it plain that that's the only way these women are going to actually be taken care of and get their nut off. That's the only way, legally speaking. More of them are going to start to push for that. And when they start pushing for that, then you got a tipping point. Now, some would say, well, you know, polygyny is not going to do well either. It's just going to leave a bunch of leftover men. Depends on how it's done. One, is there a limit to the number that a man can marry? That's one. Number two, the other way that you can avoid that, leaving a bunch of leftover men, is that you let these broads know they got a choice, because a lot of them are not going to like polygyny. So you let them know they got a choice. They can share the normal man, I mean, they can share the above normal man, or they can have the normal man to themselves, the one that can only afford to be married once. Those are the options. But don't sit up here and think that something that we find to be morally objectionable by our very instinct is going to be the way that you find a solution. Don't make that mistake. Because you see, the moral nature of that, the immoral nature of sex work, is exactly the reason that the ladies who engage in it will still have a very low opinion of the men who are paying them. They see it as morally objectionable. They would just rather externalize it than to look at the role and the part they play in it at all. I hope that what I've said has been a benefit, and I thank you all for listening again. I'm lucky I got this time to record. As always, black heart, black mind, black out, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual, non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. As the plane docks at the gate, I do ask that you go ahead and you get some merchandise, and then after that, then you punch the Cash App and only put in the numbers that are easy for you. But prioritize the merchandise first. Thank you for flying us here, with us here at Jet Black Airways, where Jet Black is also a verb. And keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.